system have mitigated the recent disaster? Well, to discuss that, we have with us Associate Professor Behzad Fatahi, who is an expert in geotechnical and earthquake engineering, and he's speaking to us from Sydney. Professor, how reliable are tsunami warning systems? And more specifically, could one have saved more lives last weekend?
Hi to you. Yes, we have got quite advanced actually tsunami detection systems, but some parts of them are based on the seismic wave and some of them are directly basically measure the sea level rise. And of course, if there is no earthquake, so the first part, which is seismometer, they won't be useful. However, the buoy systems that we have, basically they could detect the tsunami. For example, for the volcano activities that happened earlier, I just did some rough calculations because the volcano was around 40 kilometers away, and assuming a typical speed for the tsunami, if we had the operating buoy system, we could give 10 to 15 minutes at least warning for people to run to higher grounds and basically save themselves. Certainly, if we had the operating buoy system, could save lives actually.
All right, so you mentioned the operating buoy system, but the Indonesian authorities have said they didn't have many in place, many were vandalized. They've confirmed that their system hasn't even been working for 6 years. So how important is it to have one, especially in a country that's so vulnerable to tsunamis?
For somewhere like Indonesia, actually this early warning system, particularly utilizing buoys, would be quite important because Indonesia has got so many islands, and actually they have got quite close fault lines to the islands. And definitely we need to have those systems. Indeed, Indonesia invested on this long time ago, and they had, from memory, around 25 or so buoy systems, but they never maintained these buoy systems after some time. These buoy systems, similar to what we have in Australia, they need to be maintained once a year at least, to be replaced, or batteries should be changed, and so on, which is kind of costly, but that saves lives. So I think Indonesia basically needed to continue on the investment they did initially, and basically that would have been rewarding by now.
All right, so we're 14 years after the Boxing Day tsunami which occurred. What's the status of warning systems in various countries now, particularly ones such as Sri Lanka and Thailand that were so affected by that disaster?
Absolutely. So 2004 tsunami and earthquake devastated a lot of countries around the Indian Ocean, and that basically raised the alarm that we need to have those systems. Today, if you look at the countries such as Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, and so on, still we do not have comprehensive tsunami early warning systems, although they put a lot of efforts in there. For example, in Sri Lanka, they looked at how to build the communication towers, similar to Thailand. Even they put some extra buoy systems. However, they are not enough. For example, in Sri Lanka, they have to look at educating people when they receive the warning, what do they need to do, and also they need to invest more on buoy systems. That's the most reliable technique that today we have that can detect the tsunami, and we have great experience around Pacific Ocean, and basically we have got hundreds of those buoy systems, but we have only a handful of them in Indian Ocean, which is why we cannot basically prevent loss of life these days. And if you look at Japanese experience, basically they have quite advanced systems, and we have to learn these ones in Indian Ocean regions. And I hope that happens soon, and different countries come together and unifiedly basically look at improving their system.
Clearly, very much more can and should be done. Behzad, thank you very much for that perspective. That was Associate Professor Behzad Fatahi from the University of Technology in Sydney. Now, even as Indonesia recovers from Saturday's disaster, it also marked the 14th anniversary of the Boxing Day tsunami, considered one of the worst natural disasters in history. Some 220,000 people died across 14 countries. Nearly 170,000 people were killed in Indonesia alone when the 9.1 magnitude earthquake hit Aceh in 2004. The waves generated reached a height of 24 meters in Indonesia and was even recorded all the way in Antarctica. Almost 47,000 people are buried in this field of Aceh under black rocks that are meant to symbolize a tomb.